Hi everyone, my name is Patrick Dempsey.
Hi, I'm Elise Coughlin. Thank you guys for attending our seminar today. As you know, we will be speaking about sports psychology and its effects on our students and athletes.
So just a little bit of background on me. As I said, my name is Patrick Dempsey. I went to Bridgewater State University as a physical education major. I began working as a physical education major right after I graduated, and I decided I want to go back to school and become a psychology of exercise specialist, or a sports psychologist. And with all of my volunteer work, I've been coaching and everything throughout the years.
I also am an exercise science major from Bridgewater State back in the day, and me and Pat had a few classes together. We learned a few things, and our jobs now, I'm not in the same position as him. I'm actually a personal trainer, but we deal with a lot of the same situations with our clients, patients, students, athletes. We deal with a lot of depression, anxiety, and all of the other emotions that treating sports the wrong way can create. So today we're going to speak a little bit about how we can get around these problems, how we can cure these problems, and how we can create a future for our students and athletes and try to avoid all of these emotional factors.
So the first thing we want to talk about is physical activity, and pretty much physical inactivity, and how it's a big problem in the United States today. Physical inactivity can lead to a lot of mental health problems that are listed on the screen. So that's a real big reason why we want to have it in the schools and in people's lives in general. Fair?
Fair enough. If you guys haven't heard, some schools are actually taking physical education class and making it more classroom setting, which to me, yes, it's definitely perfect to teach your students the aspects about physical activity and to sit down and talk about it. I totally agree with that, but to take away the physical aspect of it, you might as well take that out of the name itself. So, that being said, I think that this seminar is huge, and I hope that there are people here that can go into their field, back to their schools, and make a change. If you guys are from those schools that have been taking the physical activity part out of the class itself, I think you should go talk to the headboards, because we're going to speak a little bit about what we can improve with our physical activity and how we can prevent our depression, anxiety, cognitive decline. These are all huge factors that are playing into our own children and into our students and athletes.
So not only does physical inactivity cause all these things, but physical activity in itself reverses these effects as well. So there are several studies out that show that just 20 minutes of physical activity every day increases test scores in students in schools. So their MCAS goes up. If they're taking the SATs, the SAT scores will go up. Just all this about moving, getting up, mixes those neurotransmitters in your brain and really helps you remember everything you need to know a little bit more.
And if we're not aware, also our society, #1 cause of death, obesity. Okay, so this is huge. We need to prevent our children from reaching that point where it's almost too late to turn around. Okay, let's get them started at a young age, so that they will stick with it, they will do good in school, they will do good in life, they'll live longer, and we won't have to worry about further development of other diseases. So taking it from cognitive decline all the way to diabetes. If you're not born with it, you can develop it. Why do we want our students to get there if we can prevent it before that happens?
So throughout the presentation, we're just going to have a few questions to ask you guys. And at any point, if you have a question, just really feel free to raise your hand. We're going to do this a little informally. Does any of you in your schools have a certain GPA that your athletes need to reach in order to play? All of you. Have you ever had any problems with your athletes being ineligible because of this GPA? A little bit less, a little bit less.
Okay, so let me see a show of hands if you are physically and verbally expressing yourself and encouraging these students to increase their GPA, not only to stay on the team, but for their own well-being and knowledge. Okay, I should see all hands raised, but we'll take a few out of the group. All right, we're going to spur a little from those couple questions. I want to know a little bit about the emotional aspect, because that is what we're here for. It's more about the emotional standpoint of our students. So, are you guys doing anything? Let me see your hands if you're going out of your way to talk to your kids about anything other than the sport itself. Are you getting involved with their emotions? Are you asking them, how they're feeling about the sport, about life, about academics. Let's see your hands. Okay, so again, this is why we have this seminar, okay? We're not always thinking about how our students are feeling, which sounds a little insensitive, but we are coaches. We are all about the sport. That's what we grew up loving, and that's what we're trying to help the kids do, is love the sport. But behind all that, it's all about the heart, all right? Yes, they love the game, but are there days that they don't, and why is that, okay? So show me your hands if you think you'd feel comfortable talking with your students, whether it may be in a group setting or individually. If they have any issues, whether they bring it to you or if you bring it to them, would you guys feel comfortable?
Now, just to interject here, we know this is very hard because coaching and everything is all about, in order to keep your job, you need to win, generally. Not in a high school instance or anything like that, but at college and the pros, in order to keep your job, you need to win. That's why most coaches don't think about the well-being of their students as an overall. But, I mean, in these school systems, we need to really push that because we're not building the pros for next year. We're building these students to be better adults later in life.
Right. So we want you to play your fullest, work as hard as you can in your sport, but not waste away all your energy and emotions in the sport. So go to school, play your sports, love it, have fun, and let your kids express themselves. But at the end of the day, ask them. Get a group meeting going. Gather everyone. Great work today. Did you have fun? What issues do we have? Did anything throw you guys off? Was there anything that you didn't perform the best today? Why was that? We need to really get in our kids' heads because they might not have anything extra to say, but there might be those kids that are a little too scared to speak out. We really need to think about how we're treating our students, what we're saying to them, and if we're frightening them, they're not going to feel comfortable to come speak to us about their problems. So we need to make it open and available for them to feel comfortable, to come to us and speak to us, whether it's just about, hey coach, great practice today, you really encouraged me, or hey coach, like so-and-so made me feel like shit today. We need to let them feel comfortable with that. So going back to where we started with this discussion, our main purpose of today's lecture is just to spread the awareness of how important the psychology of sport is to our students, their mental health, their well-being, and their athletic performance on and off the field. And Pat's going to take it a little further into depth and just give us a few segments of where we're going.
So just as an overview of what we're talking about, the three main theories we're going to be talking about are behavior modification, our cognitive behavior modification, our self-determination, and some 4 ideas, at least you could take a step to your side so everyone can see that, are anxiety, depression, self-esteem, and sleep is very important as well.
Okay, so you might be thinking, duh, we all know this, but do you actually encourage it? Do you talk about it? This whole session kind of intertwines communication with all of these ideas. So I want to teach you all a thing, we want to teach you all a thing, but we want you to take this thing that you're learning, spread it amongst your students, spread it amongst the other coaches that you may work with, or just faculty in your facility.
So, just to go from behavior modification at the beginning, behavior modification really is changes in behavior are results of association between external stimuli and the consequences of a specific behavior. This in turn minimizes the role of thoughts, motives, and perceptions in the students. Exercise can reduce stress, weight, have better mood, and improve on many other underlying causes of psychological issues. It is quite often overlooked because of the ease of medication and the simplicity of prescribing a steady routine on exercise every day. This means it is important for coaches and teachers to promote being active, joining sports teams, doing stuff outside of school that requires them to just go outside and play and be kids, and participating in gym classes and other things like that. Yes, a question?
How would you get someone to change their behavior?
To change their behavior, in order to modify behavior, we need to first identify the target behavior that we want to address and reinforce that through reinforcing cues and stuff like that. So if we had a problem with a student who just never wanted to go to practice or anything like that, we needed to have like some consequences as well. So at least I think I'm going for this.
Yeah, I mean, why isn't your student going to practice?
I'm gonna cut that part out. Sorry.
Why isn't he going? Why don't we want our students to want to be there all the time. Everyone's going to have their off day. We need to figure out why they're having an off day. Is it something you did as a coach? Is it something one of your other players did? Is it something that happened at home with the family? So again, going back to the emotional aspect, we need to not only reinforce their behavior on the field, but help them off the field as well, so that they're playing on the field with their minds are cleared. They've expressed anything that's been bothering them. We need to take that, whatever's upsetting them, turn it around, give them positive reinforcement. We're going to work through this. We got a game here. They're going to work hard. They're going to forget about it, and hopefully they can go home and fix the problem if they didn't already fix it with us. And then they can get on the field with a clear head. It's not going to affect their performance. If anything, they'll play better now that they've talked to us about those issues that they're having. All right, and following behavior modification, our next theory that we're going to talk about is going to be cognitive behavior modification. Okay, this theory is based on the assumption that physiological variables or psychological variables are the mediators of behavior. Now, what does that mean? It means that learning or insight can serve as restructure, augment, or replace faculty thoughts with behaviorally effective beliefs and cognitive skills. All right, a little more on this topic. People are taught skills to identify and control antecedents and consequences that prompt and reinforce their behavior. So this is a little similar to what Patrick already talked about. Okay, Patrick, can I call you that? Patrick, Mr. Dempsey, all right, Professor Dempsey. Okay, now that we've reached that point in our lives. So again, it's so huge to constantly reinforce our students, all right? It's not always positive reinforcement. They might behave poorly, okay? And we need to reinforce them in the sense of, if you do that again, you don't get to play next game, all right? If they play good or they show good behavior, you get to play first string next year, all right? If you can show us what you're worth, what you have going for you, it's all about that reinforcement and letting them know where they are. This cognitive behavior modification, it approaches self-monitoring, goal-setting feedback, and decision-making, and this can help to increase the exercise adherence or health outcomes of our students, okay? So we need to monitor them. We're not their parents, and we don't really know what's going on at home, but we can talk to them about it. If there's anything that their parents are lacking, you might be their parents, and if you are, whether they're your students or their children, you need to make sure you're monitoring what they're doing at home. Is what they're doing at home going to affect them on the field? Are they going to perform better or worse? Is there anything that you guys can do to change this poor behavior that may or may not be going on?
If you don't mind if I go off that
Absolutely.
too. When I first started coaching, I was a freshman baseball coach back at my old alma mater of East Bridgewater High School.
Back in the day.
So, I had this one student on my team, I'm going to leave him nameless for now.
Okay.
He was a middle child in a family with 3 children. So his oldest brother at the time was going off to college. His parents were helping them figure out what school to go to and everything like that. He was in the middle, a freshman in high school, and he had his youngest brother who was very good at sports and his parents were always actively involved in them.
Mm-hmm.
So you see how that kid kind of got lost in the middle?
Absolutely.
It was kind of just there,
Right.
in his eyes at least.
Absolutely.
So he would always act out on me on the baseball diamond. He would act out in class, he would do all this stuff. We needed to go through all these steps just to get him into the frame of mind of, I want to be here, I want to participate in the sport, and I want to be part of the team so I have a sense of well-being and meaning
Absolutely.
in his life.
Okay, so we want not you, but your students to want to be there for themselves, not for their dad, their brother, their sister, whoever else, their uncle that may have played for the team before and they were rock stars, okay? They need to be there for themselves, not for what other people want them to do. So we need to make sure that our students are with us for the right reason. We may be able to convince those students to love it, and then there might be students that are there that shouldn't be there, and they might never develop and want to be there. So we need to decipher those players against the ones that really love the sport and want to be there for themselves, because we can't force someone to do something they don't want to do, and that might bring someone in that's never going to show you their fullest performance because they don't even want to be there. So we need to figure out what our students want. And yes?
The problem that I actually found with that same student is that he grew up playing Little League. His dad was the coach. His dad signed him up. His dad brought him to every game. His dad was there for every game because his dad was the coach. His dad's not there anymore. He's out working. He now has to say, all right, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go to practice. My dad's not there. I don't really have to do much now, right?
Okay.
Like,
And it shouldn't be
it's
that
all,
way.
now it all falls on me as the coach to try and get him there, get him motivated to do everything.
I'm going to string off of what you're saying. So if any of you coaches out there are coaching your kids, which probably a lot of you are, that's how it is, you have a more important role, okay? Don't be forcing your kids into something they don't want to do. Physical activity as a whole is huge and important, and we need physical activity in our lives, in our kids' lives, in our families' lives to stay healthy and moving. But take 1 minute to sit down and ask a question. Do you enjoy playing baseball? Do you do it for me or for yourself? You might be surprised by the questions that they ask back, and you might be surprised by the answers that you get. Okay, well now that Pat has left us, I'm going to do my best to take over both of our parts and continue this lecture. Off of where we just went, does anybody else have any other questions? I know I kind of gave a mouthful.
So, you mentioned stimulus control before. What exactly is that?
Aha, okay, I figured I was going to get that question, okay? I always do. Stimulus control involves manipulating conditions or cues, like we just spoke about, in order to prompt a certain behavior that we're expecting or hoping for from our athletes, okay? So, for example, if you want someone to begin thinking about starting to participate in some kind of physical activity, whether it's gym class, they're not participating, they don't have to bring gym clothes, so whether you're getting them to participate in gym class, joining a sport, or just kind of getting into that sport a little bit more than they are, getting more interested in other things, maybe attending a sports seminar to learn about other sports that are offered, or, you know, maybe even joining something outside of school, maybe gymnastics, maybe acrobatics, or maybe just joining a gym and doing workouts or classes there, okay? Anything is great to get them out of the door and moving. So, how do you do that? How do you decide which way to send them or which way they want to go? You need to first ask them, what do you like to do, okay? And what are you interested in? You know, the way you can do this is maybe figure out some ideas that you've heard a lot about in the past, or take a survey. And then once you've taken a survey, you can create a poll or a poster board or advertisements. You can hang them up around school, you can hang them in your classroom, you can advertise maybe if you have a website. Just get it out there what the options are, okay? And just seeing, oh, baseball tryouts, oh, soccer tryouts. That might be just what your student needs, because they might not know which direction they want to go in. Maybe they played some sports in middle school, they're reaching high school, they want to go a different direction, they want to pick up where they left off. Maybe they've never played a sport before. Make it aware to them what you're offering, if there are spaces available on the team, whatever it may be, just give some sort of advertisement to your students so they know what's there to try out. Okay, these posters could include maybe what we're talking about today. So depression, we're going to get more into this, but depression, anxiety, other disorders, okay, where it's really huge to, these kids might just see the word and be like, I have that. Maybe this is for me. I don't know how to control this. I'm sick of taking medication, okay? That's also where we're going to go with this topic. Shame on you all if you're putting your kids on medication rather than getting them out the door and getting active, especially if you're coaches, because you guys are teaching sports. So whether your kids are active or not, constantly stay on their tails about getting out, maybe trying something new, you know, get those posters up, express a little bit more about anxiety and depression, because there might be students that hear the word but don't really know what exactly it's about. So put the words out there, let them get more comfortable, maybe be aware that there are other kids feeling the same way that they are feeling, all right? And this may cause them to consider whether or not they, you know, like we just said, are experiencing these symptoms. Oh, I felt that way before. Maybe joining a sport, I'll make more friends, or I'll lose some weight, or I'll feel more confident about myself and my abilities. Or anything, maybe they'll just find something new about themselves, which is always a good thing. Do you guys
Thank you.
Yay, no problem. I hope I answered your question all right.
I have a question. What about goal setting? How is that helpful to change behavior?
Goal setting is probably the best and most important thing you can do with your students. What are they working for? If their answer is for the fun of it, then good for them, and that's absolutely amazing, because we always want our students to have fun. But like I just said, there may be students out there that are overweight. We live in a society where bullying is so relevant. It's there. It happens all the time, whether we see it or hear it or not, and that's not okay. So I'm going to kind of go off topic just for a sec to say that if our students are in the locker rooms, always have some kind of, you know, person there to keep an eye on them. And what if your students are being bullied and you have no idea about it? You need to be aware of it. You always need to have some kind of supervisor. You don't need to make it aware, like, I'm watching you guys, but you don't want these students to feel like it's okay by you that they're feeling these ways or that they're treating these ways. You want all your players to be treated by each other and you equally. You want them all to feel comfortable. So back to goal setting, make them want to set goals for themselves. So it might be that kid that's always been a little overweight, his goal is to lose some weight. What can you do extra for that one kid? Everybody else is in shape except for him. You don't want to make him feel worse about it, so make the whole team add an extra thing into their practice. All right, maybe running a little more, but don't let anyone know who it's for. Help one person reach their goal while helping everybody else at the same time. And if they have an idea of where they want to go with it, they'll want to play more. Maybe they haven't even thought of what their motivation is or what they're looking for or what their goals are. So I think that when you're either having kids try out for your team, don't just look at their physical performance, ask them what they're looking for, all right? Whether it's a team or a client at your gym or whatever it may be, that's so huge. Maybe no one's ever asked them before and they haven't had the opportunity to talk about it. They might say things that you wouldn't even expect. I want to feel more confident. You may look at them and think, this kid's got it all. Well, why isn't he confident? Let him explain himself, talk to them. Let's figure out more goals for our students, okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Okay,
Just cut it.
so our last theory that we're going to cover today, all of these kind of jumble into one, but our last one is self-determination. We're going to cover things that were mentioned before. Self-determination basically is complementary to short social cognitive theories and offer ideas about how intrinsic motivation and self-regulation of behavior develop and how they interact with physical and social environments to influence physical activities of not only our kids, but adolescents and adults, okay? So we're working with all age groups here, and this is so important for all of the above. There's one study that showed that the way an athlete perceives their coach determines their motivational climate and their motivational orientation. So how does it make you guys feel that you can create how your student or your client or your player feels? Your person could hate the sport because of you. Your kid might not want to come back because you made them feel like crap one day. One day, 1 minute, one word could ruin a sport for a student. So it is so huge to watch everything that we say and filter our mouths and really think about the feelings of our students before we just yell and scream and get mad at them or say things that are going to hurt their feelings and then make them not like you. You don't want these kids talking behind your back, spreading things saying, oh, don't play for that team. Coach so-and-so is so mean. He makes me feel like I don't even enjoy the sport anymore. Remember that these kids are in it for the sport, not for being yelled at or being discouraged or anything like that. Figure out their motives. Why are they playing? What makes them feel good? And continue to ask them throughout the season. Don't just ask them one time at the beginning. See if anything's changed. See if they develop new goals. See where they want to take things, okay? So as coaches, you all have the role of taking them to a place. And you don't want to be the one responsible for taking them somewhere negative. Yes, up front.
I'm just here to coach and it's my job, my way of making money, so why do I have to be their friend?
Oh, okay. I knew there were going to be a few of those out there. I hope that even though, of course, we work for money, we all do, we need money to make a living, I hope that you love what you do and that you want your students to achieve the best that they can. That you want them to work as hard as they can. You don't want them you don't want to be like, oh, I'm only here for the money. I'm only here for the money. You want to think, I enjoy this and I'm here for the money. I'm doing something I love to make money. So I think that before you say those things, don't ever say them to your students because it won't make them feel too good, okay? They want to feel like you want them to be there, all right? So remember self-determination theory and autonomy and competence and relatedness. They all start with you, okay? The coaches, the parents, all right? If the coach creates a positive environment, the athletes are more likely to be motivated intrinsically, okay? Intrinsically means it comes from inside, from the heart. They want to do it. not for just the trophy, but for themselves. It makes them feel good, makes them feel worth something, makes them feel happy, and they love doing what they do. They need this positive feedback to know that they're participating correctly, they're doing the things that you need them to do, and they're performing well at the end of the day, okay? So they need this positive support and these good relations with you and their teammates. So to always remember the relationship between you and the student or player and the relationship between the two of them. Okay, so back going to where we were just talking about, the motivational theories, we are also going to go back and talk about what follows and what comes from them. So depression, anxiety, and other cognitive disorders, okay? So you might be thinking, we already know what these are, but do you know exactly how they're going to affect our students and our players? So depression is, exercise is a common treatment for depression, all right? Don't be giving your students medication when exercise can cure this problem, all right? So exercise is a common treatment for depression, especially if people are resistant to medications, right? So some kids will easily take medication if you give it to them, but it doesn't always help, okay? So for those, let's just try to cut it out completely. Whether it helps a student or not, just get rid of it. Encourage your kids, your players, your students, your athletes to stay active, okay? And we have several studies involving patients with depression, and participants reported reductions in these symptoms of depression, okay? So not only are we encouraging this physical activity, but it's actually helping our depression levels. So there's one study by Blumenthal and Brenz, and they found that exercise can reduce these symptoms of depression comparable to antidepressant medications, okay? So if we can use physical activity all around and encourage that, we don't need to be using these medications and keeping these young kids medicated. We're gonna go next to anxiety, okay? This is a little bit different from depression. This is just another inside feeling that we won't know about unless we talk to our students. So that takes us back to communicating with our students and our athletes. Not only, hey, how's the game go, but how are you feeling, okay? So studies have shown that regular physical activity can lower the odds of experiencing anxiety symptoms or the diagnosis disorder. Exercise training can both temporarily and permanently, with regular practice, alleviate symptoms because exercise can reduce cortisol or stress levels that impact the whole body, and the intensity of the exercise does not matter. As long as the person is exercising, it produces an anti-anxiety effect. So if you hear the word anxiety or depression from your student's mouth, address it. Don't brush it off, okay? This is so, so huge for our students and our athletes. Yes?
So how can we as coaches manage anxiety in the sport while the athletes are performing?
Well, first of all, like we talked about, the environment that we provide, keep it positive, okay? As whatever we give our students, they're going to feed off of that. If you come in a negative mood, you're going to ruin their mood. If you come in positive and reinforcing, you're going to encourage their positive behavior, okay? So you can do this by reassuring the athlete that they're doing well, and winning isn't all of it. Yes, you're a coach. Yes, you're being paid. Yes, you love your job, and you'd love your team to win. You want that, but it's not all about that at the end of the day. Okay, so make sure you're talking about, you guys played amazing. Sorry we didn't win, we'll get them next time. Okay, so let them know that winning isn't all of it, but that they can work their hardest to get there. And something that would have a negative impact on these athletes is dehumanizing. Do we all know what that is?
No.
No? No? Okay, so we're going to talk just briefly about this, and we'll know that that's something that we need to stay away from, okay? So, it's an excellent question. Dehumanizing is when a coach makes an athlete feel like they're deprived of their human qualities. An example of this would be referring to an athlete as, I'm going to use a better word, as a wussy, okay? Who wants to hear that? Especially a male, all right? Yes, in the back.
I don't want to hear that.
No, you don't. As a male, you do not want to hear that, okay? You'd rather hear, good work, bud. You did amazing out there. Like, you put them to shame. They ate your dirt. Like, you did amazing. You don't want to dehumanize them and take their sense of pride away from them. They played amazing. They lost, but don't make them feel like crap about losing. Maybe make them feel crap about now coming to practice prepared or on time or nourished or ready to go, okay? So we need to really make sure we're treating our students and our athletes like people, like humans. We can't make them feel like objects, all right? Or like wussies, all right? We don't want to hear that. Would you want to hear that? No, that's right. We do not. So, last but not least, Pat was supposed to cover this one.
There's two.
Pat was supposed to finish this, but I guess that I can handle it. Okay? So, self-esteem, I know we all know what that is, okay? It's how we feel about ourselves. Exercise can enhance self-esteem in a number of ways, such as weight loss, like we talked about. Maybe those kids that are overweight and don't like to talk about it. Weight loss, it can help create a positive self-image, in turn for improving self-esteem. When they feel like they look better, they'll feel better, they'll perform better, they'll overall feel better about themselves. Self-esteem with exercise, it can reduce your stress. Okay, stress is so huge. The decreased stress levels of an individual can also increase their self-esteem. All right, we want to make sure that they're feeling anxious to play, but not anxious about playing. Okay, there's a differentiation between the two. Like, oh, I'm so excited to play versus, oh, I'm so nervous to play, my coach is going to yell at me, or I'm not sure that I can perform at my optimal level. So let's keep them exercising, reduce those stress levels. And also, social interaction. All right, that's huge between our students. We need everyone to communicate and work together. So this can improve someone's exercise can improve self-esteem because they're just around more people and interacting with others, making them feel like they're a part of something. So sometimes doing something alone isn't as fun as doing it as a group. So let's encourage group activities, partner activities, even if it's just you and your student, okay? Make sure that everyone is working together, okay? So we can keep self-esteem up. Last but not least, we're gonna cover sleep. None of us get enough of it, especially our high school students who are up all night studying, and then they go out on the weekends, okay? So we need to encourage sleep, 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 all right? You gotta get at least 8 hours a night, which I know myself, and I know half of you probably do not. But it's important to get it across to our students that in order to perform well, they need plenty of sleep, okay? Sleep levels up, all right? If exercise can improve sleep patterns and quality, okay? So loss of sleep via anxiety can be improved through exercise because you are exerting even more energy and will end up being tired enough to fall asleep and can be useful in regulating their sleep patterns. Excessive sleep from depression can be improved because exercise can also have the opposite effect and wake the person up and provide them with energy to start their new day, okay? So you may have heard exercise gives you more energy, and who doesn't want that, okay? Improved sleep from exercise can also reduce the symptoms of anxiety and depression, like we already said. Good quality sleep is proven to improve your mood, concentration, cognitive function, and which in turn makes you a better person in general, all right? So bottom line, people, exercise, positive reinforcement, motivational climate. Who doesn't like it? Any more questions? Thank you all for attending our seminar today.
Thank you.
Woo! Ow! Ow! You guys make me nervous.